سبحان الله يا الله الله أكبر
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the World of Islam, coming to you from Houston, Texas, in the United States of America. From Denmark to China, from Australia to Argentina, from the USA to the UK, there are more than 1.5 billion Muslims in the world today. The religion of Islam is the fastest growing religion on earth. But unfortunately, the true nature of Islam is often misunderstood and misrepresented. So I invite you to join me as I travel throughout the world of Islam and allow you to see for yourself the truth about Islam and the truth about Muslims. You are now entering the world of Islam. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to the world of Islam. Our travels through the world of Islam have brought us to Houston, Texas, and I'm here in the Islamic Society of Greater Houston in the masjid here, and I'm joined by one of my brothers in Islam, Brother Mujahid Fletcher. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And welcome to the program, and thanks for agreeing to spend some time with us.
Thank you for having me.
And as we begin, Akhi, just tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
I'm originally from South America, from Colombia. My parents migrated to America when I was 8 years old. My father is originally an engineer. He was an instructor, a national instructor in agriculture in Colombia. When I came at the age of 8 years old, at that point in time, my family was all Catholic. Over a period of time and growing here in the United States through the educational school system, we encountered much of what we live here is what we live here as a youth in the environment of drugs, gangs, and violence. Many people don't realize when they come to America that in the educational school system, sometimes due to maybe the movies, in the music, there's an environment of gangs and drugs and so on. So I would say I grew up in that environment. And at the age of 13, I actually became a gang member of a gang here, a well-known gang here in Houston, mainly composed of Spanish people. And by the age of...
But I'm saying, you know, because unfortunately, like in these rap videos and movies, this being in the gangs is glamorized, you know?
Exactly.
What's the reality of that type of life? I mean, being that you have some experience that maybe some of our young brothers can listen to you, and you know, and you can kind of take the shine of the things which take place in those gangs.
Bismillah. Whenever a movie came out called New Jack City, actually originally from New York, the glamorization of drug selling and having money and being in a specific brotherhood, to say, like a drug ring or drug operation, this sort of set a stage for a fantasy for a lot of kids that we can say just don't have anything to do with their time that's productive. Whenever the youth gets out of school, their parents are mainly working. So whenever the youth come home, they don't have anyone to supervise them. So from the time that they get home, about 3 o'clock until 6, it's open reign for everything. So there's get-togethers here and there, and all they have to do is just consume something that takes them out of that boredness, which is alcohol and drugs, and watch these movies. And so in the midst of that, they get tangled up in a fake reality, and then they try to imitate that reality without really knowing. And then when they jump in their car, they listen to the music, and it's complementary to what they're seeing in motion pictures. And so they start acting like someone who they're not. And this becomes the norm amongst their peers. And then their peer pressure comes to the point that if somebody hasn't smoked marijuana ever, that person will be the strange one out. And so the peer pressure is formed, and the dressing style, the way of speaking, everything is taken from the movies and from the music, to the point that people lose their original identity, if they had one, coming from overseas or coming from any country from the outside. And then we mix we mix up like a melting pot here, because all the cultures and everything that you find here in America are so diverse. So eventually, in the midst of all that, because there's nothing else to do, you know, an individual will have an idea to do something.
But let me just ask you, I just want to be more clear. Some people think it's cool that I join in the gang, I'm going to be cool with them and they're going to take care of me. But what's the reality of that? Because a lot of young people are dying every day, are killing people for no reason. I mean, I can't say, because alhamdulillah, I was never in a gang or something like that. But what's the reality of joining the gang, as opposed to especially the Muslim youth to joining the gang of Muslims and being good Muslims? You know, I'm not saying Islam is a gang, but you know, everybody is on the deen of their friend, you know. So how important is it for young people to be with other Muslims? Because I find, I mean, it's just my observation, that in the midst of that, if the Muslims come together, then people tend to respect them as Muslims. So,
everyone has an inclination to come together as a group based on some sort of backgrounds. So being the case that the youth have one similar background coming from the hip-hop culture, they find that...
I'm sorry, just I want to clarify for my viewers, you know, what do you mean? What is the hip-hop culture? You know, because a lot of people look at hip-hop as being something benign, something which is there's no problem with, you know, with listening into it and emulating that. But what is the hip-hop culture?
The hip-hop culture basically is the same thing as what we call from the Arabic word deen. It's a way of life. It's from the way you dress, to the things that you do, to the way you speak, the type of things that are cool, categorized to be cool. It's like a culture, a subculture for the youth, to the point that even the signals being sent through the music is not even understood by the parents or by the overall society, because they're speaking in a code that only the youth identify and understand. And then when you have people within the gangs, or people within the hip-hop industry, meaning the singers, the actors in the different movies and so on, they all have a specific connection by which either you're in that culture or you're not from that culture. And this is the breaking point between the youth and their parents. The parents don't understand that, and they think they're just playing around, listening to some music, hanging out with their friends, and they have some very vague idea of the reality that the youth is living, while the youth are being put through trends by specific trendsetters, targeted through the different conglomerates of the media corporations that target specific marketing agencies and so on, that target the trendsetters, which are these hip-hop personalities, Jay-Z, Nas. All of these individuals are leaders, and if they wear something, if they say something, if they act in a certain way, that's passed down to the leaders amongst the youth, which eventually goes down to the followers, which is the overall youth, and then it becomes mainstream culture with the youth. And we're seeing that it's not only for America, it's for the whole world, in Japan, in Saudi Arabia, everywhere.
And you said that the message of this music is not just something that people are listening to, but it's actually things which people do. It's like a way of life, like you said before. So it's not something which is just harmless, but you know, the things they are saying, people actually go out and try to do.
Exactly. And one of the main reasons why I would say that this happens is because these singers, or the hip-hop artists, they understand the reality of the youth. So when they go and purchase a CD or they listen to something that individual said, whether it's Tupac, whether it's Dr. Dre, any of them, they have a way of communicating with the youth directly because they're speaking their same language. So when the parents come and tell them something, you know, why don't you study, you know, do something with your life, what is it that you're doing? To them, it's like blah, blah. They don't really understand all that.
So let me ask you now, coming from that background and having experience in that, how did that lead you to start to study about Islam? Or when did you first become aware of Islam as a religion and start to study it?
In the gang lifestyle, many people are looking to be accepted by others, or to belong, or they're looking for leadership.